footage now there from Union Glacier, and then them going, yeah, it pushed me from a 7 up to like a 9, 9.9, yeah, 99.99% sure or whatever. And I haven't, unless going there myself, but yeah, for me, for sure, dude, it was kind of like the straw that breaks the camel's back. It was enough evidence because, dude, their whole trip is, dude, it matches all the other footage I've seen at Union Glacier, and all the claims of fakery are, in my opinion, the most easily debunked things I've like ever heard quote unquote truthers say. Like even compared to like all the NASA stuff, I've heard some arguments that are not great, but I'm saying these ones like. There's just I haven't seen any validity yet. If someone could show validity, I mean, I
mean,
I think open mind. I mean, I'm not saying that somebody can't have their viewpoint or present what they want to present, but
I mean, like, I just think that it's just like interesting, right? Like, clearly, like, this is all gonna get worse and worse for like people that keep trusting this like trick, right? And I mean, I guarantee you, in like a couple of years, Witsit is gonna bring like so many flat earthers to like some geocentric ball model, and it's gonna be we're gonna have to be debating flat earthers that, we're still like, you know, don't want to face the truth or stuff like this. Like it's gonna be funny.
okay, well, I guess what you're calling what you think the truth is, but I haven't seen any indication of Witsit or Jaren even going back to any globes. Witsit seems like a stronger flat earther than he's ever been. So the idea of going back to balls seems absolutely obscene. He hasn't even mentioned that, never even in any way. In fact, he's been saying how it works on a flat Earth, and so I don't know why you would say he would go to a geocentric ball. That's just kind of like not doesn't seem like the future. It just doesn't seem like the future whatsoever that I can foresee. And there's already all kinds of ways it works on a planar surface, dude. You have two rotations like a figure eight. Dude, it fits the exact shape of a magnetic field. The North Star rotation, the Southern Star rotations with the two 24-hour suns absolutely fits the exact shape of a magnetic field and a toroidal field. It's a toroidal sky. So there's already like many explanations for how it could work, and that will continue to unfold. That's the direction it's going. Is actually understanding maybe more about it, not going to any balls, dude. No one needs to go to a ball Earth. We all know that the ball Earth was extrapolated from the sky. It's a toroidal sky.
He literally was on here and he literally said that the flat Earth model was like a distraction from geocentricity.
They're definitely lying about some things there, though, because I just look at this marathon, and the guy is an Italian football player.
Let's see, is this on topic, bro? Please don't do this. Come on, man.
It's in the Antarctic.
All right.
Guy's in the Antarctic, yeah? It's just run a marathon. 3 hours 20. There's no way. It's impossible. Just looking at how he finished just now and looking at the video, I've run maybe 25, maybe 30 marathons. So I know. There's no way that this guy just ran a marathon.
That's your point in link with this conversation that you think you have a video about. You don't think he was there or something?
No. He's apparently there. Yeah? He's apparently there. But, you just see him running 100 meters down the finishing line. Grabs an Italian flag, plunges it into the ground before he even crosses the... I don't know. That seems to me is false.
All right, dude. Could you post the video? I guess we could look at it. It's pretty off topic.
Yeah,
right,
I want to see it.
Yeah, just post it, I guess.
Fabulous.
That's the whole point. They're lying about silly things.
Please.
It's mad, isn't it? He's lying about silly things. So
what's fun, Don, is you and I get to now debate the guys that all say it's fake. So let's go, Don. You and I, we get to team up now.
A bit, but I don't want to defend this. It's a Freemasonic style.
I'm not saying anything's fake apart from this marathon. So don't.
I mean, real quick, I just wanted to say, I just heard, not that I'm like the biggest fan of Witsit, but I'm not against him or anything, but I just heard him talk about no drop over distance against, it was like Xanac or something just the other day. They were talking about, like, I don't know, I don't see how he could go back to a globe, is all I'm saying. It's like,
yeah, dude, never in a million years, especially when he knows about superfluid and the creator and the Bible and stuff. He's not going to globe, dude. I mean, that's just so far out of what seems to be coming in anyway. So people have been saying that, they're like, he's going globe, and there's just like, again, there's like zero. I mean, he talks about geocentrism, yeah, of course, because he uses that as like a transition. When people are like too triggered to go to flat Earth, he kind of realizes that geocentrism is like kind of a little bit of a easier stepping stone. So he does say that, but I'm just saying I've never heard him indicate anything that Earth has curvature or anything or motion. He's been arguing for lack of motion for forever. So
it could be a big ball that doesn't move.
I mean, there's still no drop over distance, and like I said, I just heard him talk about that. Like, and once again, I'm not even subscribed to Witsit's channel. I do think he does cool stuff, but like I'm not the biggest fan just because I have other interests. But I don't think he's going to be a baller in any kind of way.
No, just a geocentrist. The terminology will change, and the fascination with the surface flatness will change.
It's also not really about like a person though at the end of the day. I mean, they took this trip, there's all the footage which was all going to be coming out more and more it seems when they get home and can upload it all, but at the end of the day, like that's a trip that you can take. There's hundreds of videos on YouTube of it, of other people going over many, many years. And I even have a video that I found from 2012. That's some like professor from Europe, and he's at Union Glacier, and he pans the camera pans over, and the sun is behind that southern mountain. That's from 2012, and it looks like old video too. So I mean, for someone to like, it's just like it's really just like an impossibility in my viewpoint that all the footage from all that I've seen is all like some CIA actors. It just doesn't resonate at all as being the truth. So because that's what it would have to be, like all that footage would have to be fake, some CIA actors or something crazy AI, and all the stuff they just did would all have to be fake. So to me, that's just way far of a stretch of what is reality. When you look at all the footage and all the different people with their different cameras, selfie cams, just being there in all different positions, it's a pretty genuine place. I'm just saying the verification level that place is genuine from video evidence is as solid as video evidence. Well, now we have better evidence of the full 24-hour sun, though. But I'm saying of being at that site is pretty much as good as evidence that like China exists, and you could go look up videos of China even though you haven't been there, to convince yourself China exists. Like in terms of if you're looking for video evidence for a place you haven't been, now the moon landing, like that's horrible evidence for a place you haven't been. Like that evidence is abysmal that they were actually on the moon. But the evidence that these people are at Union Glacier is, yeah, it's pretty much as solid as the evidence that, you know, you could watch videos of people in China even though you've never been there.
Why don't we crowdfund like 30 or 40 grand, however much you need, and we pick someone that can't be bought, like me or I don't know.
Yeah, dude. Well, they have another trip. It's like January 5th or whatever. You can go to Union Glacier this year, dude. Do a fucking, anyone can do a GoFundMe, raise 40, 35, 40 grand and do the trip in a week or two. There's still trips this year. Fuck, raise 90 grand and go to the South Pole. Go to 90 degrees, get
Seems
us
like a
footage
waste
there.
of money.
Yeah, let's not scam people just to see stuff that we can see on video. Jesus.
No, but the sun is, well, yeah. But he's saying that he's still, I mean, maybe he needs to go himself.
Yeah, I know your point. I get it.
I guarantee you I wouldn't be allowed to go.
Dude, Q out. All it means is that it's not the psyoped Gleason's like one sun circling Polaris globe shit that they use it. They use that AE map as the logo for the United Nations. So that's just a dead giveaway, dude. That's their shit. That's their gang sign. So that map is like a fucked up globe coordinate thing, and like there was like the King's Decree back in like that whole story of the King's Decree where like they basically demanded that he has to use a certain coordinate system like for Gleason's map and all that. That's like a globe coordinate system, like through the king or whatever. So, dude, it totally goes. So they just took the globe thing that they were already trying to push at people, flattened it out, made like a slightly fake flat Earth model, put the little heliocentric ball sun that circles around. Like, here it is, guys. It's just the one ball there. Dude, the heavens are more complex than that. Like, it's not just one ball above us. I'm not saying there's more than one sun. I'm just saying like there's more complexity to how the sky works. I think it's toroidal and it's much more complicated. But nonetheless, that one model was sold as the one sun that circles around. That's the only thing that's falsified. Like, just take that frisbee and chuck it. Like, that's all that is being done in a way because that's falsified, the one sun. That doesn't mean that all of flat Earth is falsified. Stationary planar geometry is falsified. So,
Well, can I say I brought up the magnification dome and putting it up under the sky, and there's like 7 or 8 reflections. So imagine if like I don't know whatever is moving, but like what if there's way more than just 2, or like what if there is a cycling number of suns coming through and exiting? You know, who knows? Like who fucking knows?
Infinite suns.
Not
you don't need infinite suns.
necessarily, but yeah, exactly. Joe, I want to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, I posted the video.
No, go ahead. I was typing to Rakia. What were you saying? Could you say it again? I heard what you said.
Yes,
Maybe
the idea of like dome, there being the glass dome, I put it on a magnification mirror and it reflects the sky. And when it gets the sun in it, there's like between 7 and 10 because of the size of the dome. I assume a bigger one with like, you know, I figure there'll be more, but what if there's a cycling number of suns? What if there's like 10 or 9 or 13 suns that like we just don't know? Like the moon map thing is real, but there's like you know the idea that each star is another sun for another like little ice walled little bubble thing. I don't know if you've ever had that concept brought forth, like outer ponder kind of thing.
No, I hear
Is
you.
the
Yeah, because
Earth-
you can replicate it. Oh, go ahead. You can replicate with like a dome within a dome. You can replicate
Well-
some of the geometries in that way too, which is interesting. There's even a wild, like, just this is like wild idea, but think about this real quick. Like, let's say you have a huge, like, you know, planar Earth, and then the heavens above that are crystalline and superfluid and stuff. What if the sun is like one object that's at the center, like one massive sun or whatever that is? I'm not saying it's like a ball, but some kind of like light source, and then it's just above the whole Earth. And then there's like crystalline refractive crystal structure that can focus that sunlight in different areas. So it's like it's kind of like you can take a magnifying glass and focus the sun and like burn an ant or whatever. And when you're burning the ant, you create like a little focal point of heat, but the sun's way up there. You know, it's way up and above you, but you're taking the magnifying glass and you're focusing it. In the same way, what if the sun was way above the earth and then there's the firmament and the heavens like can like refract or you know, like I think of it's almost like crystalline fiber optics or something, but it's like with focal points that you could have the sun. It's only one sun, but could be like, you know, manifesting as our apparent sun to us, you know, from in that fashion. It's like the one main kind of sun source, and then it's like basically being focused depending on where you're at to be, you know, viewable depending on its cycles.
Mm.
And then you could lastly you could even link with that if there's one sun above, that nighttime is actually a shadow. The idea that when it's night, it's actually a massive shadow, and that there's something blocking like half of the sun, instead of the idea of a close and local sun that emits light with attenuation. It's just a complete idea, but it's interesting.
Were you,
I mean-
hey, Gio, where were you hearing that from? Was that Cat Boss you were hearing that idea from? That the nighttime's a shadow?
I go next.
The nighttime's a shadow thing. I did hear. I think Witsit had said that, and I was like, I had never thought about that. I heard Witsit mention that part.
That's what
Yeah.
Cat Boss was saying. Yeah, I think
The idea of the
she
sun.
was presenting it to Jaron and him yesterday with her idea. But first of all, I want to clear up one thing. Also, Gio, did you? It sounded like you said definitively that the one sun idea has been debunked with this 24-hour sun, but you didn't mean to say that, right? Because we were just talking about one sun possibilities with even the AE map working, you know.
Well, no, yeah, like
Merl.
that. Well, the idea I just said of like
I'm
one
just waiting
sun
my
that's kind
turn.
of like focal pointing on different areas, like that would
Uh-huh.
be still a one sun that you could have like the focal point thing. But well, I was just saying like one ball sun that's circling an AE map. I was saying is falsified because like to have that 24-hour sun effect, you know, I mean, do you disagree?
Well,
Like, you don't
actually, well, that's what I'm saying. I didn't know if you were saying that definitively or not, but yeah, even the one sun with the AE map is what Cat Boss is saying works, just like Shane's model, in fact. And it's
Then
because of, in her idea, it's because of the bunt pan firmament, right? And she's saying that shadow comes from the stem of the firmament coming down through the middle, and then it goes up and spreads out and makes a circle where it connects with the rest of the firmament, and that's where the shadow's coming from that we see in the AE map projection that Shane uses for his thing. So it's like it's like the positive and negative. You know how you can reverse those and you see it totally differently. So in this idea, everything's always lit up rather than always dark, and the shadow is what we're considering dark rather than the sun just lighting up what's already by default nighttime. So nighttime only comes from the shadow of the sun being blocked by the firmament itself is the idea.
Okay, well, I mean, I get that idea, but what about like, okay, then, but how would you have like, if you're talking about are you still talking about an AE map, like not like a two-pole thing?
And then it works with
Not
the
the
personal
two-pole.
dome.
Not the two-pole,
The-
you're saying.
No, well, this is her idea. I'm not saying I agree with this or it's just,
Okay.
this is the idea how it works
Yeah.
exactly how we think already, but it's not
Should I
appreciated enough
concentrate?
to know how it would work. Because if you have the personal dome, just the way that because what Shane's model is or not Shane's or Walter Bisman, whatever it is. But it's just a transformation, just like the globe is, just like the two pole model is as well. Even though in that scenario you can have the separate star system, as well as the circling sun over Antarctica as its own continent. That's the advantage of that, in my opinion. But what she's saying is that because you're higher up in elevation in Antarctica, and the sun in this idea would be able to actually be seen, even though it goes that far away, you would actually see it for the whole 24 hours because of the way the angle is, and it's not being blocked by that shadow or the stem from that angle where they are, and then your personal dome still makes it seem like it's just circling around you, even though the sun is going further away. And that might even be proved by some of the temperature changes, because someone was noting that it doesn't make any sense that if it's right above you from the same distance, that you have such a drop in temperature, right, over that 24 hours. And that may be because the sun went far away, even though it seems like it's just circling above you and your little personal dome still.
And can we unpack the stationary, planar, toroidal, electromagnetic world?
Well, possibly, yeah. But I mean, I was,
like
well, yeah, we
a
could
lot
go
of
into that, but
that's a lot of
your
unpacking.
perspective, I don't know. I wanted to understand what you're saying, but I can't say that I understand fully. Do you have any,
You know
like,
what? She's having a hard time. She's having a hard time explaining it to others.
Yes, right? You
And
never have anything
real quick
to say
though,
about
Merl,
it.
let me just finish this idea and I'll get off. The thing is she was going to mention it. She's still planning on mentioning it at Fire Fridays. And she's got it all worked out in her head, and she's going to have someone help her with the graphics. Sam, I guess, is going to do that to make it more explainable for people. But she was like the whole time up until this, she's like, if I'm right about the way it works, we're definitely going to see a 24-hour sun. She was adamant about that way before anybody else. And then when it happened, she's like, this totally confirmed. Cat Boss, she came in here and talked about astrology. She does the cards. She's over Ether Cause all the time. She's cool. She does like the readings of like your birthday with the cards, and she came in here, did a whole presentation. It's on my channel.
Gotcha. All right. Well, so wait, what, I mean, could you just, I don't know, man. Okay,
It's like the same thing as
shadowing sun, but how would you get, like, I guess, okay, if you're talking just simply this, like if you have an AE map and you have the sun, the whole contradiction obviously is that they're in Union Glacier, way south on the outer, rim of the dinner plate kind of thing, and there's the sun behind them in the south or whatever, and then the sun is actually all the way across the plain in China. And not only that, but it's on an AE type map, it'd be over above China, but it would be darkness between China and Union Glacier, like in Texas or whatever. It would be nighttime, so the whole world would have nighttime there. The sun would be over above China or whatever, and then but the sun would also be completely lighting up all of the the Union Glacier world, 180 degrees opposite. So yeah, I get the idea of like, I know
I'm
the
probably not
Bunke
doing it
kind
justice.
of pattern.
Too many words.
Yeah, let me post a picture that she has, and she'll probably have to explain it because I'm probably not doing it justice. But this is the picture that that kind of explains it if you just look at this.
So this claims that there's just one sun. Hold on, but just to be clear, this claims that there's one sun on an AE map, and somehow it ends up being two, kind of like two.
No, it's like you're seeing it in your personal dome, even though it's further away from you. It just looks like it's circling over your head, even though it's actually going.
Image, like, what does that explain right there?
A full circle. Well, if you zoom in on it, you can see the sun over across at the farthest away, right? And then you see the beam coming in. That's where the actual sun is, but the apparent sun is still circling around you in your little personal dome.
How could it be circling around you in your personal dome when it's all the way across the plane between a whole bunch of nighttime?
Because of the angle, from what I understand, I'm probably not doing it justice again. She's saying that that the sun is only blocked ever. Like it's almost like the ballers say, like the sun would never disappear, right? But the reason it disappears is because at the angle when you're in further, you're still gonna have the way the personal dome works with the perspective making it seem to set. But the fact that it goes away at other places is different than this, partly because of the elevation, partly because of just the way that the dome, the angle to it is, you can still see it from that angle. That's the way she explains it to me. she's going to have to do a lot of graphics to make it very clear for everyone. But I'm just saying that this
Okay.
is my whole point in bringing this up, not to sell this idea or say I believe it or any of that. I'm just saying that there's she feels really strongly about it. Maybe she's right that you can still have the AE map with one sun. So we don't know. There's all kinds of possibilities, and I
I mean,
think there is
I
a
just have to
psyop
be,
going on with all kinds of stuff. But I
I
don't
mean,
think that
I
them
want,
going there was a psyop.
I want to understand. Wait, what was the last part you said? Them going there is not a. What did
Is
you
that-
say?
them going there is not the psyop, but there's lots of psyops going on around the idea that they didn't, that they're going back to the globe, and even flat earthers seem like they're being psyoped by other flat earthers to put such doubt on this. It's crazy. I can't believe what I'm hearing, Q-Up. You sound like you're like stubbornly wanting to make sure that you say it's fake, no matter what you're shown. I mean, you might want
He's
to wait till you see all their footage first, right?
He's not still here,
not-
but
yeah.
I hear you because he did see.
I mean,
he did
I
mention
can.
saying that.
I
But let me
can.
just say
I
real
can
quick with
comment.
that. Well, Merle, I don't know if
Go
you're going to want to shift gears or not, but I mean, I don't know, new perspective. I always want to understand when people are explaining something, and I don't want to just say, oh yeah, but so I guess
No,
I
I
just have
hear
to be
you. I
honest.
hear
Like
you.
I'm not understanding I'm not making sense of what the words that you're sharing. I'm not trying to be
I'm
rude. I'm
not.
just letting you know.
No, no,
I'm
wait.
just saying. So
I
I don't
don't
know if
fully
anyone else
understand it
did.
myself yet.
Okay.
I honestly don't fully understand it myself yet, so I shouldn't even try. But
All right.
she's
Fair
so
enough.
confident that it works that
Okay.
and it seems like she does kind of know what she's talking about. But
Well,
she'll have to do like a good presentation.
see, all I'm trying to do is like, there's thinking people out here, and you guys seem pretty confident about it. So, like, is the planar stationary Earth the ground of? Is it the only world? Is it just one world? What's outside of it?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
So,
I
like,
think I said this to
where
you a
is
long
it?
time
Is
ago,
it
Merle.
the-
Like
but is
even if
it
we
one
knew,
little? Hang on. Let me
even
just let's just slow
wait
down a
on
little.
that
So
point, one sentence real
no, but
quick.
hang on.
Remember when I
There's,
said?
is
Remember
it
when I
just
said
one little?
even if we knew, even if we knew the
Dave.
whole perimeter, where are we in relation to what? Right? We talked about this a long time ago.
No.
Is that what you're saying?
So no, I'm just saying, is it one contained little world? Is there nothing? Are there other worlds? Is this the only one?
Exactly.
I mean, I
That's
could
what
give
I'm
you
saying.
I could give you my thoughts on that. It's kind of outside of a little bit the purview of just this realm. I mean, do you want me to give you my kind of spiel on it, or I mean, I don't have to, but I mean, I'll try to be short, I'm trying to be long-winded, but I mean, okay, I think that like just okay, so like there's this physical. I don't think this is the only realm, no, at all. I think there are definitely other realms, like many other realms, but this is in my viewpoint. But is that what you want to go to? Like more like the philosophy of what the rest of consciousness is basically like beyond this dimension kind of thing, like the spirit
I
world
think
and
he's asking more
like
like,
you talk
how
about
can
like
we know?
you talk about like the afterlife, or are there like
No,
reincarnation, or are there other places you can incarnate in other than Earth, or is Earth the only one? Like that kind of discussion, you mean?
because I'm with you on a lot of that stuff, to be honest. But just when it comes to the physical actuality of reality, I guess, because I've been thinking about it a lot. It's sort of, it would have to have foundations. I can't make it work. That's why I rail against it. Like I've tried to draw it. I've just sort of like, I always just end up with this sort of, I'll have foundations, and then I'll have the stationary plane with the sky revolving around it. But then I just realize that's just one world. Where is that world?
Right, Merle.
And
That's what I was saying.
Nothing's really anywhere. I mean, I would see this world. It's like a spirit world. Basically, it's just all spirit worlds because we're made of spirit, like light and sound and vibration. So like there isn't really any place that is anything. It's just everything is it's like non-locality. Everything exists eternally everywhere. But because it's all consciousness, but it's like focal points of consciousness within light and sound vibrations ultimately. So like nothing really is anywhere, perhaps. We're in a spirit world, but there's like numerous other states of consciousness that you could call spirit worlds as well. Like what happens when you die, other dimensions, other worlds, other things. but they're not really in another place. Like it's not like, oh, this one's over here and the other world is 5,000 miles that way or 10 million miles that way. That's what they say in the heliocentric thing. Like, oh yeah, light years out there. It's not really like, in my viewpoint, it's just like different spirit worlds. Like when we came into this body, our soul, our spirit came into this body. Now we're in this spirit world, as it were. And when we die, we'll transition to what happens in, the spirit world when we die. If there's other dimensions as well, kind of a thing. So it's sort of like, just in my viewpoint, like different layers and like focal points of consciousness within the totality of everything, which holographically were the part and the whole simultaneously.
What do you mean by
So
you can't make it work, bro? What do you mean by you said you can't make it work? Like, why would outer ponds be like something you couldn't make work or imagine? Or, I mean, I don't think it's necessary to have a belief about it, but I would say there's countless worlds.
Because outer ponds is kind of like a different thing. Like I can make that work because say it's like just an endless game board.
Yeah.
With lots of different ponds. Like I can make that work. But
what were you saying you couldn't make work?
Well, the idea of there just being one physical realm for the entire of all creation, and this is the only, I've heard people saying the earth is the only place people can exist. How
could they know that?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, and it's not a go at Geo or it's not a personal thing. It's just I'm trying to come to grips with where I exist, and
well, how could you know?
Why right, and I don't know why there's got to be so much mysteriousness around where we exist.
Because we can't know anything more than this. How are we supposed to know if there's other realms or not? There's no way to prove that.
Well, because we're inside here and it doesn't seem like we can get out or something.
Most likely not.
I mean, see, I'm cool with it. Like whatever the truth about it is. I'm you know what I mean? Like say if it was a pyramid or square shaped, I don't care about what shape it is. I just want to know what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I'd say most people that are being honest should have that same opinion, and they shouldn't have a preference or a bias based on something that they started believing in and have to attach themselves to.
Yeah, like the circuit, because it seems like the circular world has got some issues, but then again, I wonder, is it just the way maps are projected onto 2D surfaces? Because just like calm down, Justin was just playing something about GPS and how it's actually done, like datum point, and like they sort of have this imaginary. Well, they have this imaginary ellipsoid thing, and then they mathematically flatten it, and it's like the whole thing's projections of a surface area, and and it just sort of and I just after 10 years of this, I'm just starting to get a little bit. It's the same thing that when it started, like, what's actually happening? That's frustrating. That's all.
Well, the most significant thing, which you probably agree, is there's a point, at least for any real flat earther or whatever you call a real flat earther. In my opinion, flat earthers are made when you realize that you're not spinning. For me, that's all it is, as far as I'm concerned. Like you realize that we're not moving, and it's a planar Earth, just like it seems. In perspective, takes care of all the distant stuff, and that you can't unrealize that ever. That is the full of it for me. And I'm figuring out what the whole thing is great. We'll have to work on that. I don't know if it can ever be done as far as what this whole little area is, but we'll never be able to know what's outside this area. So we'll never know where we are relative to anything else possibly. Even if we could figure out the parameters of this whole little pond here, doesn't mean that we know exactly where we are, because we can't. Maybe we don't actually have the ability to know what's outside of it. So we'll have nothing to compare it to. Maybe we'll find out.
I mean, in our human bodies, we're always going to be limited, is how I see it. Like we're kind of like, if you want to call it trapped, quote unquote, but it's like we're in our human bodies, so we're limited. To me, like Yeah, I don't think you can get out of this realm with your physical body unless you talk about like portals or
Right.
something at the North Pole or something wild like that. Some Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, where you go through a portal to some other dimension, something wild like that. But outside of that, like I don't think you can just like pop out. Like you don't go up in the sky and just pop out or whatever into space, you know. So like I mean, in terms of some of those like areas, like I think of basically out of body experience, like whether you're using psychedelics or fasting or breath work or different ways of like, if you want to go to that level of exploration of like accessing, like that's why like since time immemorial humans have used these practices, whether it's meditation, fasting, breathing, psychedelic plants, all of these different ways to be able to like expand their consciousness and awareness and be able to have like basically induced, you know, quote unquote out of body experiences, lucid dreaming, all kinds of ways where you could like glean more information about consciousness, even explore other dimensions, understand more about this dimension. Even the idea that like a lot of the ancient ancient scripts that talked about scriptures that talk about like the heavens and the layers, even in the Vedas, even in the Christian mystics, like the original Christian mystics, but like talking about like mapping the heavens. Well, how did they do that? Like, did they get in a rocket and go up there and probe and look around, or were they essentially using techniques to essentially leave their body or to expand their awareness to where they could actually like see this realm from outside of their body from other perspectives, almost like remote viewing and this kind of thing. But you're able to actually see the heavens or see how it's made, or go to other dimensions, or go to this, experience different spirit worlds and so on. So to that level, like to me, that's almost like the real astronauts. Like you can't go up there in space and float around and probe Pluto, but you can actually like explore consciousness space. But to do that, generally when you're in a body and you're just functioning and going to the bathroom and eating and sleeping, doing that kind of stuff, you're not really going to experience that because you're in like the ordinary human body functioning state. So you have to go into a special type of state of consciousness, which could be, yeah, dreaming, lucid dreaming. Like I said, the using plants, using breath work, using, flotation tanks, like all these different techniques that are used. So, and then you're able to become like a consciousness knot instead of astronaut, like a conscious knot basically. And I think that's what our ancestors have been doing since the dawn of time. They've been using these plants and using these different techniques and things to be able to access more knowledge,
And
more
probably the
information.
elite. The elite are probably still doing that. Like they, like think about like I was thinking about this one time when you were talking about past lives, as well as other times I guess too. But what if like that there's a technique like you're talking about with regression or whatever, maybe it takes that to get there to remember your past lives. But what if like they know how to do it and they can remember all their past lives, right? And they know how to do it very well, and it's a regular practice for the people in control, and they know all their past lives, and they know each other from past lives, and that's like a regular thing from them, that they have like maybe part of the pineal gland calcification is keeping us from remembering it, or maybe they do something with our, like the rhesus monkey gene that doesn't allow us to do that, or whatever it is. Like maybe they're keeping that from us, because think of how much power you would have as like a family or a group of people that continually remember all of their past lives. Like then you would live multiple lives, and you'd never be afraid of dying, and you would just like set yourself up for the next life, or set your family up for the next life by making sure that things keep going your way for your clan. Think about that kind of power. I'm just saying that's a possibility, because there is the possibility, because you know for yourself that you can remember other lives through a technique, right?
Yeah. Well, I followed you in terms of the theories of the elite having that. Well, I don't know. I would say it's actually a very advanced spiritual thing to remember all of your lives. There's the claim that when Buddha, there's a claim like when Buddha was like reaching his like finale of like spiritual kind of experiences, he like saw all of his lives. He's like meditating under the Bodhi tree and like saw all of his past lives strewn out before him. There's also the claim that like when you die, you see like all of your lives, or when you're in the spirit world. So yeah, I mean, but being able to like remember lives is usually seen as like more of an advanced thing. I mean, these kind of like if you're talking about like the elite Illuminati dudes, I think they're pretty disconnected
No,
from
the people
their
that
source.
control the Illuminati, like the higher up than that, maybe. I don't know. It's just an idea, but I'm just saying, not that I think that does happen, but I'm just saying if that did happen, that would be an amazing thing, amazingly powerful thing, if it was that easy to actually remember them. Or maybe there's something that we're lacking that doesn't allow us to remember them. I don't know. Just an idea.
What? Because
But,
part of the main
there is
reason
like
why
a
I'm
filter.
asking-
There's like a soul filter that we don't have all the memories unless you try to access them. Yeah.
right.
Because say if I went outside a university and kind of tried to present this to, say, somebody who didn't know our group, they'd have questions, right? Like it'd be understandable, and I'd try to walk them through it. But I guess what I would, and what I always keep bringing myself back to is stay focused with the globe not being the true model, and the globe not actually being even a thing. It's just something that's being created on a screen, and no one's actually seen it as far as I'm aware.
Like
So it's
Siak says, it's an egregore. It's an egregore. It's like a mind
Yeah,
thought thing that's just like a
Yeah.
thing that's like an idea that just kind of grows like a cancer or whatever. It's just like this idea that's like the Borg, like the globe, but it's not an actual thing. Yeah, it's all consciousness ultimately. It's all consciousness and state. It's like all of reality and all of the creator creating everything is just like, to me, it's like states of consciousness. Like in my state of consciousness, there's my soul, as it were, my physical body and my experience. But then like the computer that I'm using that's sending my voice through, like that is its own consciousness as well. So yeah, it's like it's like a field that there's different states, and like a rock is like a state of consciousness in that kind of analysis of it, or other spirit worlds or other dimensions or states. It's like just states of consciousness, states, kind of that idea.
It's the microzyma. The microzyma are at the heart of everything, and they all
Well,
are intelligently connected.
I guess what I'd say to people though would be, I know you're going to have questions. I know your head's going to pop, but just sort of, and ask them. I'm not trying to shut anyone down. I'm not anti speculation or ideas. I'm not. I just think we have to focus a little bit. That's just my take on it. Like, I think if everybody could just focus on the task at hand, which is that the Earth has been lied to about where it exists, I think that's an arrival point. It's like an entry. It's like that's the portal. That's the portal to me. Everybody realizing it and not jumping off into too many other things. But that's just how I'd tackle it. After,
Hey, Merle, don't you think that's the way it has to be, though? Like, if they told us it's flat, and people learned it's flat because they were just told that rather than realizing it, then does that take it away from it? Because they're just like believing it because they're told that.
I wouldn't go to flat or concave or toroids or any. I'd just,
well, you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
If they told us say they told us the thing that made the most sense about our world, like there was no contradictions at all, like, we're not spinning or whatever it is that fits with our, personal experience. And they just told us that from the beginning. Seems like the right thing to do, obviously, but I'm just saying, like, that if they're telling us that at this point now, if they start saying it's flat, I think we lose, ironically, because then they're going to start attaching a bunch of pseudoscience to their flat Earth and saying they know things that they don't know about the flat Earth dome or about things that we can't falsify. Again, they could do the same thing. So ironically, if we win, we lose. So that's why, and I think this whole thing with the 24-hour sun is, I think they still plan on telling us it's flat and probably using the outer ponders as aliens, probably. But right now, it was getting too popular, too heard about. They needed to give the common man or the regular normie like an easy out, so they could just say, "Oh yeah, they proved that wrong," and they can turn it off in their head. And some people need that. We don't want the normies trying to be flat earthers and come up with their corny flat earth fucking jingles that we have to listen to. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is better. It's not mainstream, in my opinion.
I don't know what you mean by that. I mean, to me, like, I guess I hope this doesn't come off as critical, but isn't that kind of like a high school level of like, we're the cool kids and you can't be the cool kids kind of thing? Like, the truth is the truth. Shouldn't the truth just shine forward, and then if something's non-truth, then that can be deciphered as such?
Of course, I agree with that. And I may have made it sound that like, you were the cool kids,
Well,
but
I'm
I'm
kind of
saying
joking. I'm just joking.
that
I'm just saying, like, does it have to be like
no,
a,
no, I hear you. Yeah, yeah, I know you are. I know you are. That's kind of how I made it sound. Not necessarily in a joking way, but because I think like some people, it's just too heavy. It's just they, at least at this point, most people would rather not know if they were really. They'll say they want to know, but if you really were getting to the truth, they most likely wouldn't want to know that this kind of big of a lie was what they had to do. Like my parents, for instance, I wish I had never said anything because they really would rather not know. I mean, they were just educators and professors or whatever, but the whole idea that the government was lying to you, they're into politics, they don't want to think that. It's like the world that they created for that generation to live in was so attached to like the moon landing and all these other things emotionally that they'd almost rather die without knowing. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying that I think that's probably the case. Like they'd rather just believe what they thought was true. And maybe maybe it's going to take a long time before like, you know, most people would ever get to that point. I think this next generation, like that's just coming up. I mean, they don't believe in anything. So they won't have a hard time understanding that they were lied to because they already know they've been lied to. So maybe it's just like that unfolding naturally. I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or not, but it seems like flat Earth was rolled out, in my opinion. At least that's what I've always thought, because it seems like they could have killed it more. But I've said this before. I don't know if they plan on using it or if they just plan on trolling us with it, or just using it for the Discord or the conversation or the internet machine that it is. The way that it's like an engine for the internet conspiracies in general. I think the same thing with the JFK assassination. That it seems like he wasn't actually murdered, but they had all the conspiracies about how he was murdered and who he was murdered by, probably already planned way before they faked his death, right? And that was all about the information age and the information battles that people are having, like we're having on this Discord about the shape of the Earth. It's all about the, divide and conquer, as well as the energy that goes into, arguing about things and keeping you distracted with things that may not be as important as the deeper truths that flat Earth gets to. The model versus model is how they've always tried to frame it. Maybe that's the psyop.
Because I'm about to go to Europe, and I know at some stage I can see myself outside of university with Dell, right, talking to people there in Scotland and saying, so the Earth's moving up, and following the exercise through, because it's like the Earth's going. There's definite movement.
I really
like,
hope you don't do that.
Nothing. Oh, well, I'm definitely going to do this, but
No.
it's like there's nothing static in this place. Like everything moves.
How are you going to
vibrates at least?
How are you going to rebirth?
I don't know about the whole thing moving though. Vibrating,
Well,
everything vibrates.
This is the thing. It's like when you bring it to people. So when you give them stationary planar, no one's going anywhere, and that makes some people feel a certain way. But when you realize that the Earth's in motion and it's going somewhere, that's way more fascinating. Because where's it going?
Bro, you cannot say that flat earthers have to unpack their model and explain what else could be around and then just say your whole model's going upwards with no reason.
I mean, we've had 10 years.
I think I gotta go. But Merl, I just want to know: are you trying to start a upward Earth debate right now with people?
No, I'm just saying that there's this is sort of like going to be explored and filmed and talked about, and it's not going away. I just want people to realize that.
I don't want to talk about that right now, but I will say that from what I can tell, and I don't care if it's moving up. If it's moving up, I'd like to know. I don't have anything against that. But from what I can tell, it's just a kinematic equivalence mathematically. And there's some things that don't work with, like, if you jumped up, you would add the vector, and then it doesn't necessarily mean that you'd come back down, because that'd be you coming back down rather than the Earth coming up to you. So if you jumped up in the air, what makes you fall back down to Earth?
Well, it's like what gives you weight on a stationary plane? It's the same conundrum.
Density.
No, doesn't work.
Why not?
Well, have you thought about it?
Yeah, of course.
How does
I mean-
density cause weight?
Because it's the mass is heavier than the air,
Mhm.
so you wouldn't just float.
So where's the resistance?
Well, if you jumped with an accelerometer, the way that from what we were talking about already, the accelerometer is designed so that it's going to show zero acceleration. That doesn't mean you're not accelerating, just because the accelerometer shows zero acceleration.
Like you guys know that there's like engineers and mechanically operated, practical minded people on this, right?
Sure. I mean, but Merle, I don't want to argue with you about this because I know you feel strongly about it.
No. It's not an argument. It's like people run from this, and I'm exposing it. I will do as long as I'm alive. I just wonder why people are running away from it.
No, you're gonna argue against flat Earth while ignoring every single globe argument, and I'm gonna
I'm
know
not arguing against flat Earth.
Hey, real quick, I think I cut out, but I'm sorry. I got to go to bed, Merle. Love you. Love everyone else. Take care.